Hi, beautiful. It's lovely to see you, and it's really nice to be here inside out of the... It's not quite a howling gale, but let me tell you, it's blustery out there. Certainly noising. You wouldn't hear me over the wind. So, here we are inside, and there is no downside to being inside because we get to play with rocks. And this... Any mineralogists will recognise this immediately, but many others won't. This is galena. And galena is a form of lead ore. And the structure, I mean, you can see the lead colour, right? It's lead sulfide. I had my husband look it up on the interweb just before because I remember this from sixth form chemistry. And I just couldn't remember. I remember that too. So, this is galena, and it's fabulous. And it is from... the Silver Hills. Hang on. No, that's not hills. I don't know what that is. But it's from Zambia. So there it is. Good morning, Linda. Good morning. So I think this is beautiful because you don't often get to see this sort of thing. You know, everybody's after pretty sparkly rocks. I like the interesting ones too. And I love the shape of this. And yeah, if I handled it forever, it'd probably be toxic. I'd probably absorb lead in through my skin. But I'm not going to do that. I'm just enjoying it. And the back of it's pretty sort of, you know, I won't remove the stickers. The back of it is a little bit sort of interesting in its own way as well. So there you go. Lead ore, galena, who knew? Now I do. And good morning, everyone. I can see you coming on, although Facebook hasn't told me who you are yet. This one we can enjoy for a bit. Hello, Amy. This is, where's this from? I have no idea. Probably from somewhere. No, I tell a fib. I have a label. And the label says that this is calcite and phrenite, and it's from Brandberg. And the Brandberg Mountains are in South Africa. And it's actually a volcanic caldera. If you look at the Brandberg Mountain, it's got this big circular hole in the top of it where something went boom. And there are all these crystals there. So this is from the Brandberg. Oh, hi, the Space Camel Hearts! Cheeky buggers. Yes, I can imagine, Linda. So, which is what? Obviously, well, maybe not obviously, all of these white square bits are calcite. And you can see the characteristic calcite shape. That angle that you can see there, it often grows in those kinds of, I think it's rhomboid shapes. And there's just sparkling calcite everywhere. And it's beautiful. Calcite is one of those minerals that grows in many, many forms. G'day, Jim! Thank you for the share. Mwah! Did that all wrong. And the little green bits, the mwah, I don't know. The little green bits are the phrenite. And they just sort of light it up. It's a pale green. And they're beautiful. And the sparkly... Hang on, I got to look at this. The sparkly black bits, I'm pretty sure I would expect to be hematite, because hematite and calcite quite often, actually hematite and quartz quite often go together as well. So, you know, it's just sparkly, pretty stuff with phrenite in it is the pale green. And it's from the Brandberg in South Africa, and it's beautiful. So there we go. In fact, yeah, okay, I've missed the important parts. These little sparkly bits in here actually are quartz. See the little quartz crystals? So there's quartz mixed in with the calcite. That's quartz. And in with the quartz you have hematite, and it's lovely. Good morning, Laura. Good morning, Eric. I know you'll be there. So, those are our rocks for today. Now, I want to talk about something that came out of yesterday, and it's this whole thing of, look, I'm doing everything, I'm doing my best, and, you know, and I'm trying all this stuff, and I just keep on trying things. Boris, it's been ages, good morning, beautiful being, and I'm just feeling frustrated, and I'm starting to wonder if anything's going to work for me, and you know, I mean, do I believe in this? Do I need to believe in this? Is anything going to work? You know, and am I just never going to get any success? You know, really? Am I banging my head against a brick wall? Am I wasting my time? Should I just give up? All of that. And so sometimes that is just the sense of, look, I've done this so long, I've tried so hard, I'm feeling so frustrated, I want to... And sometimes it's just, oh, really? am I wasting my time? Is this just pointless? Am I barking up the wrong tree? Hi, Bill! It's just, that kind of feeling is what I wanted to address today. And it took a little time last night to really get my head around what I'm trying to say. And I listened to my inspiration, Dr. Joe Dispenza, yesterday. G'day, Lance! Hello! Talking about this very thing, because serendipitously he mentioned it, he spoke about it in the last Tele class. He runs a monthly Tele class, and I decided to join that, and it's been one of the best things I've ever done. And it just helped me sort it out in my head, and then I had to think, well, how am I going to frame this? And this is how I understand it. Jen, Sammy, it's lovely to see you. This is how I understand it. We have ways of getting things we want in life. Yeah, hair pulling out moments. Exactly, Laura. So you put it in 4 words. I had to take 3 minutes. Hair pulling out moments. Like, what? Now, when you get to that place, what that means is that everything you've ever known how to do to get what you want in life isn't working. You've done everything. You've tried everything. You are getting to the end of your rope, to the end of your emotional belief of, this person that you've been up until now. And you've done certain things, whether it was to try harder, whether it was to cry and manipulate, whether it was to get angry, whether it was to force or coerce or hope more or pray more, whatever it is that you've been doing up until now, go to more therapists, try something new. And you've done all these things. These are all the strategies that you've known how to do your whole life, because you learned them from your parents, and you learned them from your friends at school, and you learned them from your enemies at school. Abigail, lovely to see you. You learned them. And they're all the things that you're used to doing, and they're all the things that are related to the past version of yourself that you are wanting to step out of. And so, of course, if you want to be somebody new and have something new happen in your life, it's not going to come from the old self, honey. But we are programmed by ourselves and by the media and by society and all that stuff to do what we do. And, you get aware, you start making choices, you say, oh my God, I've been thinking and feeling this way and feeling and thinking, and I programmed my body this way and I programmed my life this way, and you do all of those things. And that's great, that's really important. But I've seen this, I've heard Joe talk about it, I've seen it in a lot of the testimonials, because I've watched the testimonial reel with its 499 stories in it many times, and I'll watch it again because I learn so much. And every one of those people, everyone? See, there's a lot of story they don't tell because they're so busy talking about how fabulous they feel. They're not even that interested in the fact that their stage 4 cancer's gone or the genetic condition that they had is gone. They're excited about how they feel. But you hear many of them say, and I'm reminded of this guy who got cancer, and it's a real ride overcoming cancer, doing this work, but you can do it. Hi, Bernadette! And, he had his ups and downs, and I mean really ups and downs. It's like a bloody roller coaster, and I'm not there. But there was a point, and this is a common theme, I hear this in these stories. There was a point at which something just hit him. He had some really difficult days in his meditations. It's like crawling up the walls, feeling all the fear. I'm going to die. I can't heal this. It's not changing. I'm getting no results, right? And then one day, I think something changed. He just had a different kind of experience. And, he went through his day feeling really connected and just connected with himself and in love with life, even though he still had cancer. And it just sort of came to him that he didn't care whether he still had the disease. He was just okay and whole in himself. He'd let go of needing anything to change. And because he'd let go of the fear and the need to get better and all that, of course, he was feeling whole in himself. And then his body changed. It's going to back to front and inside out. So he'd been doing the work, and he'd been absolutely, and this is what we have to do. But there is a point when you get to the end of your emotional belief about what you can make happen in your life by yourself doing your thing, where we just have to let go and say, okay, I've struggled, I've tried, I've pushed, I've hoped, I've prayed, I've wished, whatever it is, and I can't do anymore. And that is the point when a lot of people would say, okay, I'm giving up and turning around, going back, let it go, whatever. But the difference that I've learned, and I can look back on my own life and actually see an experience, which I'll tell you if I have time, where I actually did this, but I didn't understand what I was doing, is I let go of everything I knew how to do, but I did not give up. So it's a different kind of thing, because we're often taught and we see modeled, you got to keep trying, you got to push through, you got to work really, really hard, you must not quit, and you must, and you got to, that's the survival state of trying and forcing and chasing and pushing and, all of that thing. And the flip side of it is being desperate and hoping and wishing and, all of that stuff. Yeah, the body finally does let go when it really knows that it can trust you, Laura. It's quite a thing. So to really, it's this weird balance between taking aligned action with ourselves and totally surrendering to the moment. And I still find it difficult to talk about because I haven't had the experience of being right there and that, like this chap that I talk about. I'm trying to remember his name. I can see his face. I remember faces better than names. Really cool guy. Really cool guy. And so he had to let go, and he got to a place where he was so whole in himself that he did not care. And, in terms of my experience, 2014, I took a big leap. I was working full-time. I went to part-time. I was working part-time. I went to less part-time. God, I can't even remember the details. It was so not me. But I launched in the Tele Summit business because I wanted to do something. And that was all that, and it was kind of synchronous and it showed up. And I thought, well, I'm going to do this. I took a big risk. I launched. It was a lead frigging balloon. Because what I didn't understand then, and what the person who purported to be, a coach had no clue about, is that Tele Summits are one-night stands. I mean, you think about it. There is a new speaker every week. They run for however long. 4 or 5 weeks, and they're great, by the way. They expose people to ideas and opportunities. Nothing wrong with them, but completely inappropriate for me. Why is that? You go to you listen to a Tele Summit, you hear a person tell the story about what they do, and you think, I think I'll try that. They got a special deal, tra-la-la, off you go, click, and you do the special deal. And then tomorrow, you might hear another person, you think, that's interesting, I'll try that. So people are just going from this to that, and that's fine. But what I know about me and the work that I do is that there is a long latency period. Hi, Nora! Hugs! There's a long latency period usually between when people meet me and when they decide they want to work with me. There's a relationship that has to build. Sometimes it takes weeks, sometimes it takes years. Not going to happen in a Tele Summit in a million lifetimes. So I had to learn that lesson because I didn't know. I was incoherent, ungrounded, didn't know who I was or anything. It was a starting point. But I busted my ass trying to make that work from halfway through 2014 to the end of, was it 2016? No, 2017. For 2.5 years, I broke my heart trying. That's what I used to say. And at the end of that year, I just got to a place where I knew nothing was working. It was like, no, I'm done with this. I didn't give up on my dream, but I knew that everything that I knew how to do to try and create myself financial abundance, turns out to be a lot more than that, but that was what I wanted at the time, was not working. And, you're speaking to somebody who stayed in abusive relationships because you always hang on to the end and you be loyal and you be faithful. Hi, Shafi! Oh, my God. I stayed in so much because of this whole thing of you got to stick it to the end. So I drew a really big line inside myself and said, no! And I ended up in a void for 5 months. You probably heard me say that. I stayed in a void because there was nothing. And I knew there had to be a way forward, but I didn't know what it was. It had to be something completely unknown and new to me because nothing that I knew how to do was going to do it. And turns out, there was something completely new, but it took me kind of 5 months. I was actually building a relationship with somebody who would become my mentor when she opened a coaching group. Because I couldn't afford to pay her. Her fees were huge and I didn't have the money. But she opened up a coaching group and it was $99 a month US, which, for me was like, I don't know, whatever, 150 New Zealand. And at that time, that felt like a lot of money. But I knew in my heart and soul that if I did not do that, even though I wasn't making that money, that I would regret it for the rest of my life. And I know that was true. Because, I worked with that coach for about 18 months and then I actually grew out of that space. About the time I started connecting with Joe Dispenza's work, and kaboom, it's really happening now. So I got to the end of myself. And the message I want to say is, if you've been trying this and trying that and doing the work, going into meditation, beginning to create yourself, getting aware, making changes, and you feel like you are pissing into the wind and it's just really wet and stinky, understand you are coming up against yourself. We spoke about that yesterday or the day before. If you're sitting in your meditation and you want to crawl out of your skin because it's so uncomfortable being present with actually who you are all the time, but you just don't notice it because you keep busy, or you've got your attention out there on stuff that actually is the stuff that's out there that you're reacting to is making you feel like this all the time anyway. But when you sit still and you remove the external stimuli, oh my God, you really notice how you've been mismanaging your energy. Me too, right? So if that's what's going on, understand that's what's going on. It does not mean you're failing. It means you're doing it right. But you got to understand that you will get to the end of yourself. And you'll only get to the end of yourself if you stay present and stay connected, keep somehow, in some small way, continuing to move towards who you want to be and remembering who you want to be and creating and crafting. And yeah, it is a molding process, you're right, Laura. And it's painful. It really is. Because we expect transformation and growth to be ecstatic, and it's amazing when you break through. But it isn't explained that this is part of the process. You have to come up against the very part of yourself that has not been going where you want to go forever and a day, because that's the part of you that's been holding you back. And you only notice that part of yourself when you start to move into who you want to be. And if you quit moving into who you want to be because it's so hard, you aren't going to get there. So it really is. I still feel like I've missed something important, but it's probably because this is just something that you have to realize is what's happening. If I can get a little neuroscience for a minute, it's like, remember your identity, your conscious self, who you think you are, who you know yourself and feel yourself to be, is represented by all these experiences. And like every experience enriches the brain. Anything that's new, the brain makes connections and then it makes a chemical, and that's the emotion, right? And that's called a memory. So the more experiences you've had of a particular kind, and it can be really painful because you're so aware of yourself, Nora. But you know what happens, and I know because you're doing this, every time you overcome yourself, you use your frontal lobe, the neocortex, to suppress your desire to react and emote and everything the way that you're used to being. What are you doing? You're pruning apart those neural connections. Oh, promises. Well, that was then. What are the promises you want to make to yourself now? You see, you made the promise whenever it was, and this is a great example. And then you have all these experiences because you make the promise. You have all these associated experiences. I made this promise. I believe this. This is important. That person relies on me. And it's this huge neural net inside your brain, right? Remember we talked about association. Was it yesterday? Yesterday was another lifetime. So there's a massive neural net, like a huge jungle of trees. It's all about, I made this promise and it means this to me, and I had this experience and it was difficult and that was good because I felt good because I kept my promise. All this stuff, and that's your identity, and it's literally in the architecture of your brain. And every time you decide to choose something else and inhabit a different self and having new experience just in your imagination, you can do this. having new experience, creating you, imagining what it's like to behave a different way and feel a different way. Because you think, you act, you feel. That's what happens. So you think, you're having new thought, you're having new experience, you're having new feeling, you're making a new connection. What links in the brain sinks in the brain. And if you keep linking and syncing it, firing and wiring it, what doesn't link in the brain doesn't sink in the brain. You stop using those old neural connections, they're going to prune apart. That old forest of I have to do and be this because it's the way I've always been is slowly going to die off because you're growing a new one. And when there is the temper tantrum inside your head and you keep choosing and choosing, it's like, quite often that's because there's a ton of neural pruning going on. And you are right in between, and I've heard Joe say this, I know it's true, and I've felt it myself, this absolute chaos inside me. Synapses are pruning apart. New connections are being made, and the epigenetic expression of your cells is changing as a result. And you want to crawl out of your skin because you've been addicted to fear and terror and victimization for your entire life, and now you're choosing something else. And your cells are saying, are we doing fear chemicals or are we doing empowered chemicals? Fear, empowered, fear. And they don't know what to do. And that chaos and confusion is also part of this process of getting to the end of yourself. Because you're pruning apart the old synapses, you're breaking apart the old behaviors. You are literally, what is it? Neurologically, biologically, chemically, epigenetically, hormonally, energetically dying. Your old self is doing all of that, and you're making your new self, a new neurological, a new biological self, a new epigenetic expression. Hi, g'day! A new emotional self, a new energetic broadcast to the universe. This is how it works, and this is why it's so hard and why many people don't do it, because they don't understand it and they're not willing to sit in the fire while the dross burns off. Yeah, it takes a lot of work to prune those things. I heard Joe use the words neural trunk the other day. You know, listening to him, oh yeah, of course, we have super highways inside our heads, but I hadn't thought about it as a neural trunk. You know, you have this masses of neurons all bound together in this trunk, and then it's all branching off into those things. So you had a lot of stuff that triggered the anger. Now you don't. There's a lot fewer things, a lot fewer branches on that tree. It's dying because you are fertilizing and growing and pruning the new self. And that's exactly what you've done, Abigail. I'm so proud of you because I know what this is like from my own journey. So that's what I want to talk about. See, if you feel like you're pissing into a strong wind, well, you are. And that's okay. Don't stop. Realize the chaos that you feel is change and keep going. Very much love. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.